She didn't fall for your smile. She didn't fall for your jokes. She fell because you were quietly whole, the kind of man who already owned his life before she ever came along. Listen close. This is the part most guys miss. You remember the first time you really noticed her? Not the flirt, not the small talk, not the moment she paused and watched you like you were something familiar. That wasn't luck. It was a string of small, steady things you did without making a show of them. Today I'm going to tell you why she can't stop loving you. Not flashy reasons, the quiet ones that build a life. One, quiet confidence, not loud ego. It's not the man who shouts the loudest that gets remembered. It's the one who carries himself so calmly, so naturally that people turn their heads without even knowing why. That's the kind of confidence she noticed in you. Quiet, steady, no fireworks attached. You didn't enter a room hoping people would notice. You entered, stood tall, and acted like you belonged there. That's the kind of energy that makes women feel something deeper. See, a lot of men confuse confidence with noise. They talk too much, they laugh too loud, they keep trying to prove themselves. And the funny part is that the more they try, the more people see through it. She saw you didn't need to do all that. You didn't interrupt conversations to sound smart. You didn't brag about your wins. You didn't make jokes just to fill silence. You were comfortable with yourself, and that silence was louder than any big speech. She also noticed how you handled failure. That's a test many men fail without realizing. When things didn't go your way, you didn't fall apart or look for someone to blame. You accepted it, adjusted, and kept moving. That's rare. Most men fold at the first sign of pressure, searching for sympathy or validation, but you didn't. That calm acceptance showed her something. You don't need rescuing, you can rescue yourself. And that gave her trust. Women are drawn to safety, not in the sense of protection from the outside world only, but emotional safety too. She knew you wouldn't explode in anger just because things went wrong. She knew you wouldn't chase approval like a lost boy. Your confidence wasn't a mask. It was who you really were when no one was watching. The truth is, real confidence doesn't perform, it doesn't scream for attention, it whispers, but it whispers so strong that everyone hears it. That's why she couldn't help but respect you. It wasn't because you were flashy, it was because you were stable. And stability in a world where everyone's rushing to be seen is rare. Confidence like that makes a woman relax. It makes her drop her guard. And when her guard drops, love creeps in quietly, without either of you noticing at first. That's why she fell. Not for big gestures, not for clever words, but for the way you didn't need to prove anything at all. 2, emotional stability, a steady place. She didn't fall for you because you never felt anything. She fell for you because you knew how to feel without letting feelings control you. That's a huge difference. Most men think being strong means hiding emotions, acting like nothing bothers them. But that's not strength. That's just a mask. Real strength is being able to feel everything, pain, fear, disappointment, and still not letting it drag you into chaos. And that's what she saw in you. She noticed the way you didn't explode in anger when things got hard. You didn't rush to defend yourself every time she disagreed. You didn't sulk or play cold games when you felt hurt. Instead, you took a moment, breathed, and responded instead of reacting. That calm presence told her one thing: this man won't make me walk on eggshells. That's rare, because so many women live with men whose moods swing like a storm. But you stayed like the ground, firm, steady, unshaken. She also saw how you held her emotions without collapsing under them. When she cried, you didn't panic, you didn't make her sadness about yourself, you didn't drown in it either. You simply stayed there, silent, present, holding the space. That kind of stillness is powerful. It tells her, I can lean on him and he won't break. A man like that becomes an anchor in her life. And here's the truth. Women test this all the time without even realizing it. They push, they cry, they bring their storms, not to hurt you, but to see if you're grounded enough to handle them. When she saw you weren't afraid of her vulnerability, she felt safe. Safe to be soft, safe to trust, safe to love. Emotional stability doesn't mean you never get upset. It means you don't let emotions run the show. You control them instead of them controlling you. That discipline doesn't make you cold. It makes you dependable. And that's why she can't stop loving you, because your presence feels like home. 3, purpose and drive, a life that moves. Here's the thing, she didn't fall for you because her love became your purpose. She fell because you already had a purpose before she arrived, and you didn't give it up once she came. That's powerful. A lot of men make this mistake. They meet a woman and suddenly she becomes their world. Their goals, their passions, their routines vanish. And at first she may enjoy the attention, but soon it suffocates her. Why? Because no woman wants to be a man's entire mission. She wants to join his mission, not be it. You had direction. You woke up with goals. Not just talk, but action. Even when no one clapped for you, you showed up for yourself. You didn't sit around waiting for love to give you meaning. You built meaning on your own. And when she saw that, her respect grew. Respect is deeper than attraction. It makes love stronger. She noticed how you handled setbacks too. When life knocked you down, you didn't quit. You adjusted, you kept moving. That quiet persistence showed her, this man won't fold when things get hard. He has drive, he has grit, and a woman feels secure with a man who won't abandon his path. Your purpose gave your presence weight. You weren't drifting, hoping she'd fill your empty spaces. You were already building, already growing, and that made her feel like she was stepping into a life in motion, not a life waiting to be rescued. That's why she can't stop loving you, because you didn't need her to complete you. You invited her to walk beside you. 4. Respect for her boundaries. Freedom, not control. Here's where most men mess up. They think love means ownership. They push past her no. They test her patience. They blur lines thinking persistence proves they care. But it doesn't. It proves they can't respect. You were different. You gave her freedom. You didn't make her feel guilty for choosing herself sometimes. You didn't punish her with silence when she needed space. You didn't push just to get your way. Instead, you listened. You honored her limits, not as walls to break, but as lines you were strong enough to respect. That shocked her because it's rare. She realized you weren't afraid of her independence. You didn't see her boundaries as rejection. You saw them as part of who she was. That told her one thing. This man isn't insecure. He doesn't need to control me to feel powerful. That's magnetic. Every time you accepted her no without resentment, she trusted you more. She opened up more because she knew your love wasn't about control. It was about choice. And that kind of respect disarms even the toughest defenses. It makes her feel safe enough to stay. That's why she can't stop loving you. 5. Subtle masculine energy, calm force. Your masculinity wasn't loud. It wasn't about flexing, dominating, or competing. It lived in how you carried yourself, firm, steady, unapologetic. She felt it in the way you handled pressure, calm when others lost control, clear when others shouted. That's masculine energy, not aggression, but authority born from self-control. You didn't need to own the room. You just stood in your space and people noticed. You didn't crush her spirit to feel strong. You led with calmness, not control. That balance, strong yet gentle, is what drew her in. It gave her space to be soft without feeling weak. She trusted you because your masculinity wasn't a show. It was just who you were. And that quiet force made her feel something deep. A man who can stand tall without crushing others is the man women don't want to lose. 6. Consistency, small promises kept. This is where love either grows or dies. Consistency. And that's what you gave her. Not grand gestures once in a while, not empty words, but daily actions that matched your character. You didn't disappear when things got hard. You didn't switch from hot to cold depending on your mood. You showed up, steady, reliable, even when it wasn't convenient. That built something bigger than excitement. It built trust. She felt safe because she knew what to expect with you. Not because you were predictable in a boring way, but because you were dependable. In a world full of men who show up strong for a week and vanish the next, you stood out. That's why she can't stop loving you, because consistency is love in its truest form. 7. Emotional honesty. Real, not performative. At the end of the day, she fell in love because you were honest, not brutally harsh, not fake sweet, honest. You spoke your truth without playing games. You admitted mistakes. You didn't inflate yourself to impress her. You didn't hide feelings to protect your pride. You were real, and here's the thing, realness is rare. Most people perform. They act one way in public, another in private, but you showed up the same in both places. That told her she wasn't in love with a mask. She was in love with you. Honesty builds connection. It allows her to feel seen, not as someone someone you needed to pedestal, not as someone you wanted to control, but as herself. And when a woman feels fully seen and fully safe, she doesn't want to let that go. That's why she can't stop loving you. At the end of it all, she didn't fall in love with your looks, your words, or your gifts. She fell for the man you chose to be every single day, a man who stood in quiet confidence, who carried emotional stability, who lived with purpose, who respected her boundaries, who radiated calm masculine energy, who showed up with consistency, and who spoke with honest truth. Love isn't built in one big moment. It's built in the way you live, when no one's clapping, when no one's watching. That's why she can't stop loving you, because you're not performing, you're simply being. So remember this. If you're chasing approval, if you're begging to be noticed, if you're bending just to be chosen, you'll lose yourself. But when you stand as a man who knows his worth, who leads himself before he leads anyone else, love comes quietly and it stays. If this message spoke to you, let me know in the comments which of these 7 parts you connect with most right now. Confidence, emotional balance, or consistency. Share your story because it might help another man listening today. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next message. Someone out there needs this reminder, and maybe you're the one who can send it their way. Stay steady, stay real, and I'll see you in the next one.